Good evening. Welcome back to Faithfoucs. I'm your host, Nate. I hope you are all doing well on this beautiful evening. If you're in Texas, we're supposed to be getting some pretty bad storms Friday and pouring into Sunday. So I hope you guys are warm, safe, and just doing good during those times. Today we're going to be talking about faith during lonely seasons. In the last episode, just to give you guys a recap, we would have talked with Reed and Luke, talking about how do you stay firm in your faith during slow seasons. And in my mind, coming up with this episode, I was scrolling through some stuff I had written down, and I was like, this would make for the perfect episode to really just run off what we previously talked about. If you're watching clips of this on my TikTok or Instagram, or if you're watching this on YouTube, or you're listening to it on Spotify or Apple, I appreciate y'all being here. Without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about having faith during lonely seasons. Let's be real. Loneliness sucks. When you see other people with their significant other, when you see people with friends and you see families together and eating and that sort of thing, your mind can kind of spiral down a loop of, why not me? Why can't I be surrounded by people and by a lover, by friends, and that sort of thing? What we're really going to be focusing on is some characters in the Bible, some people in the Bible who have experienced loneliness. I'll give you those three people I'll talk about. Number one is Jesus. He was very isolated, if we're being real. When he wasn't preaching, most of the time, he was by himself. It was just him and God. David, who was a king, was also alone. And I'll read you guys a verse here later with that. And then even Job, who once had everything, and then it all got stripped away from him, and he was plagued with diseases, and it was just him and God. If we really look at the Bible, there are so many people that relate to us when it comes to loneliness. But if you also look even deeper beyond just the people who are lonely, a lot of the times, loneliness actually builds us. It gives us more time with God. So that actually perfectly goes into my first point here. When we're lonely, that gives us more time with God. That lets God's voice be the most clear. It allows God's voice to be, the loudest. Right? Here's the thing about God, is he isn't going to try competing with all these different people in our lives. Because let's be honest, if we're constantly busy, if we constantly have something going on, it's going to be harder for God to talk to us. He isn't going to try to compete and start yelling at us. Our stuff that we're doing in our life may slowly fiddle away. And that isn't a bad thing. You see, when it comes to loneliness and having faith in it, you have to trust that, one, God will eventually get you out of that. But two, you have to trust what God is doing in that season of loneliness. And in this case, I feel like a lot of people miss this. And what I mean by people, myself. When I have been in lonely seasons, and even currently, it's kind of like, God, why can't I have what this person has? Why can't I have a romantic partner? Why can't I have a big friend group where I'm constantly doing something? Like right now, I'm in a season to where I'm working a lot. And overall, I kind of get down, and I'm like, God, can I be blessed with these things that you're doing for others? And what I have to think about, and I watched a video that perfectly talked about this, was that this is how God speaks to you. When we look at characters in the Bible, David, Job, even Elijah, who was a king, these people had a lot going on. And when stuff slowed down, when those spiritual highs slowed down, this allowed for God's voice to be more open. It allowed God's voice to be a lot more clear. And that's something I want you to understand. That loneliness is not a punishment, but it's just God trying to speak to you. Because when it's just you and him, this allows for more personal time, for more deeper and intimate connections and conversations with God. And if we're being honest, this allows for your true self to come out. Because if we're surrounded by people constantly, sometimes you're probably trying to put on a character and to put on a act. I'll read you guys a verse here. It'll be Psalm verse 25, verse 16. And I have it, right here. This is going to say, "Turn to me and have mercy, for I am alone and in deep distress." What this is, first let's go to who this is talking about. This is talking about David. And David is alone. He's in distress. He's asking God to be with him. And you're like, Nate, if I'm already lonely, What else is God going to do? What else can God do? Well, he can be with you. Because sure, worldly people may not be with you. People on this earth may not be constantly around you, but God is always with you. And that's the most important thing that you have to realize as we look in this book here, right? Again, for I am alone and in deep distress. Turn to me and have mercy. God wants you to himself. Not as in a crazy, obsessed way to where you can't have any other connections, but he wants you. He wants a relationship with you. That's the first and most important thing I'll talk about there. Let's turn to Job. Alright, maybe you're in a situation to where, or you were in, that you had everything. Job would have had a great family, a farm full of animals, a great house, a farm full of crops. And one day, it all just kind of disappeared. His family, they died. His crops died. His animals ran away. They died. And he got plagued with illnesses. Here's the cool thing about Job is he never cursed God. He was alone. He was in distress. He went through a lot. But the thing about it is this allowed for God to speak to Job the most. You see where I'm getting at? This is a reoccurring theme in this book. That just because you're lonely, it doesn't mean that you have to live negatively. Like sure, if any of these things happen to me, I'd be very mad. Right? There's been things that happen to me that are way less than anybody I'm talking about here, and especially Job, and I'd be super negative about it. I wouldn't have a positive outlook. The big thing is when you have faith in loneliness, to continue to have faith is to trust God in every single season. The seasons that things are going your way and the things that you once prayed about are happening, you continue to have faith. You pray just as much as if things weren't going your way. The big thing here is you can't forget God. That's the big thing. Let's talk about another thing here. Is loneliness is actually confirmation that God is working on you. So I'll be kind of repeating myself here, but for a good reason. And that's when God has the most time with you, which will typically be during slow seasons, will typically be during lonely seasons, this allows for God to fix things that are going on with you or past trauma. Right? I'm sure we all can account for something that may have happened in the past. Something that just wasn't good. A bad relationship, a bad breakup. Maybe something with our father, or something with our mother or our family. Whatever it may be. Right? When it's just you and God, this allows for your mind to be a lot more clear. And this, again, allows for God to speak a lot more clearly. And I can't emphasize that enough. Because guys, if I had 15 people around me here, and I'm trying to film this episode, these words are going to be coming out very weird. I'm not going to say everything that I want to say. But see, I was just me. I don't have a crowd. I don't have an audience except for the people viewing online. This allows for me to be able to have my thoughts clear and to be able to say what I need to say more clearly. The same thing applies to when you're healing from something, to when you're dealing with something, to whatever it may be. Don't forget that loneliness, again, will allow for you to be more open and to be able to hear more clearly, but to also speak more clearly. It's confirmation that you're being worked on. I'll leave you guys with a verse as well. Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not unto your own understanding. Acknowledge him in all of your ways, and he'll make your path straight. Beautiful verse there. And this is saying to trust in God in all of your ways and not to lean on your own understanding. Do not lean on your own understanding as to why you may be lonely right now, as to why you may not be in a relationship, as to why you may not have a friend group or your family's just kind of split apart. Don't lean on your own understanding, because a lot of the times your brain's going to trick you and think that, one, this loneliness is a bad thing, but two, that it's all your fault as to why you're lonely. Don't think that, guys, because if you trust on your own understanding, then you won't see this season of loneliness as a good thing, as a thing to develop you, but you'll see it as punishment from God. You'll see it as you punishing yourself. That's the last thing you want to do, because then you'll forget the whole purpose as to why God is building you in this lonely season. Because then your perspective shifts. Your mind shifts as to, this is my fault and this season is nothing but negative. And when you do that, you miss the whole purpose. You miss the whole alignment that God is trying to do in your life. Thank you all for tuning in to this new episode of Faith Focus. I do appreciate you guys being here, and I just thank you guys so much for again, yeah, just watching this episode and just spending your day here with me, or night, wherever you may be. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and if you haven't watched the other episode with Reed and Luke, go check that out. Really good episode. Beautiful things were said. That episode will be there forever. There's no time limit, so whenever you do want to go check that out, go check it out. If you do like this podcast, leave a rating. It helps me reach more believers, and it helps me even reach more non-believers, people who are trying to find out more about God. Share this podcast if you do like it, and check out my socials in the link of this bio. Plenty of good stuff there, and plenty of more content I do daily. I'll see you guys next Thursday at 7:30 for another episode of Faith Focus. Thank you to everybody again watching this. Good night, everybody, and stay blessed.